everyone, welcome back. My name is Allison. I am a knitter based in Nebraska, and this is kind of a podcast series that I've started where I'm just sharing all of the things that I have been knitting and making on lately. I have a bunch of stuff to share today, so I'm really excited to jump into it. I hope that you can see everything okay. It's like a super dark, gloomy, stormy day, but we have like 3 days ahead of us with dark and stormy, gloomy on the radar. So this is the best day for me weather-wise to film. It's early in the morning, so I'm up in the attic where it is still pretty hot, but hopefully with all of this stormy weather, it's going to break like the crazy heat wave that we have been having in the Midwest lately. It's been over 100 most days, which is a lot, especially in an old house. So it has been a little bit toasty. You can see I'm not wearing any knitwear because I just don't want to be like sweating for you to see, but I do have a couple of things to show you. So we will start with finished objects. The first thing that I have is my Fleur Shawl. So this I showed in the last episode that I was working on. I have completely finished, bound it off. So this pattern is by Space Tricot. It is meant to be a DK weight yarn for both of these. I think actually they might use mohair held double for the contrast rows, but either way, it's meant to be a DK weight yarn. I knit this with fingering weight yarn instead because I wanted it to be kind of like a light summer layering piece. I mentioned in the last episode that my husband and I are going on vacation to Vancouver in about 3 weeks from now when I'm filming this. So we're super excited about that, but the weather is going to be so much colder than what we're used to, especially for summer. The highs are like colder than our lows right now. So I wanted to make sure that I had something for layering that was really lightweight, that could like scrunch up pretty small, that I could put into my purse or my bag, whatever I have with me. And it'll also be nice at like the airport, you know, if you're like chilly and wrapping up. But I knit this with, okay, it is with Mirasol Yarns Sulka Legato yarn in teal is this main color. And then the darker blue is Moondrake Fiber Company in Prada blue. And both of these, I believe, I'm pretty sure both of these yarns are non-superwash, which I really like. I've been very into non-superwash yarn lately. I just think it's so, besides the fact that it's better for the environment, I just think it's so like squishy. It's like, I don't know, I like that it's more natural. I mean, these are obviously super dyed, so it's not like they're like raw wool, but I really like the feel of superwash yarns. I know a lot of people actually I prefer the feel of non-superwash yarn where it has a little bit more texture to it and it's not quite as smooth and silky. This is actually very soft because it has alpaca content in it, and I find alpaca like super smooth to the touch. I mean, this is a shawl. It doesn't bother my neck one bit, but I think that this is just going to be a really beautiful layering piece. The only things besides knitting it with fingering weight yarn, I sized down the needle 1, so I think it's meant to be knit on an 8. I knit it on a 7. So besides changing the yarn weight, I haven't measured it to see how it compares with like the size that it's meant to be, but it is quite a large shawl. It's plenty big enough. You can see, or you can't see, but I will put in a cutaway to show. It goes like well past my belly button, and I actually shortened this. So it's meant to have your bobble row, 2 plain rows, bobble row, 2 plain rows, bobble row, another plain row, and then a bobble. So I cut off basically an extra, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 inches in length because it was getting to the point I was knitting on it and I was like, this is going to be enormous and I want this to be like a summery lightweight shawl. I don't want this to be big or bulky, and I think if this were any larger, it would look a little bit ridiculous in the summer. But I am really glad to have this. I think the color looks nice on me, if I do say so myself. And let's see, where did the other end go? Here we go. I feel like, okay, I do feel like the color combination, the like chevron, it reads a little 2010. And I'm okay with that because I do really like it. However, it is maybe not the most fashion-forward piece I've ever made, but I do think the kind of subtle color difference makes it a little less, mid-aughts chevron vibes. But maybe in the future, I would probably have done this with the bobble rose just in the same color, so without the stripes. Okay, I am going to take this off before I start getting like hot and sweaty, but like I said, super glad to have finished this. It is so snuggly. I have been very into garter stitch lately, and you'll see more on that later. Actually, you'll see a lot more of these colors because apparently I'm just really having a blue moment. Everything around me right now is blue and I'm okay with that. So to be honest, I have been like slightly obsessed lately. Not obsessed, that's taking it too far. But like the color seasons, I feel like it's very an 80s thing to care about, and I'm not even born in the 80s, but I have like latched on to color seasons lately and trying to figure out what my color season is. They have like these filters on Instagram now where you can, basically put your face in it and then tap through the different color seasons. And basically my whole life I thought that I was an autumn, and now I think I might be a winter. And ever since I have like discovered that maybe I'm a winter, maybe I'm like somewhere in between. I really feel like I'm somewhere in between an autumn and a winter because I do think that warm tones look good on me. But ever since I've been like thinking maybe I might be a winter, I have been really reaching for this kind of tealy blue color because I think that it looks nice on my skin and it's also a winter color. But that is enough tangents on this shawl. I will put the links to the yarn, to the patterns, everything will be in the description down below so you can see more notes if you would like to, if you would prefer just to read that on Ravelry. That will all be there. But I do have another finished object also using the same yarn, and I have a framework bralette. This looks horrendous when it's not on. Oh my god. The proportions look ridiculous because it stretches out so much, so it makes the straps look crazy long. But this is my second finished object. Like I said, it uses the same Teal Mirasol Sulka Legato yarn in Teal. I also paired that with Cascade Yarn's Heritage. I believe this is their sock yarn in Riviera Heather. So you can see these two colors together. I was watching the Corriedale knitting podcast, if you were watching my channel, I'm sure you've seen hers, but Rebecca had knit a like minty green, not minty, like a sagey green camisole, and she was wearing it with a white button-up over top, and I saw that and I was like, that is an outfit that I would absolutely wear, but I didn't want to knit the same kind of camisole that she was wearing. I wanted something that was more fitted underneath, and I thought I already had the pattern for the framework bralette, and I decided to knit it again after I had finished this. So I just finished this shawl, I think on Friday night, and I think I wove in the ends on Saturday, and it was a long weekend this weekend, and I was like, can I knit an entire framework bralette before the end of the weekend? The answer is no. You probably could if you started on the first day, but I didn't start until Sunday, so I only had 2 days. I finished everything but the straps though, so I was able to just like smash out the straps yesterday. that was like super quick and easy. If I knew that if I knew that the straps wouldn't have taken that long, I probably would have just stayed up a little bit on Monday night to finish them. But either way, I finished this last night, woven on my ends. I haven't blocked it, as you can tell, because it's very tight still, but I've tried it on and I really, really like the fit. And I also tried it on kind of with the outfit that I was planning on wearing, like white button-up shirt, high-waisted pants, or high-waisted shorts would still be cute. And I think that this looks really adorable. So I'm very, very happy with this. So like I said, I saw that Rebecca had knit her like camisole and she wore it with the oversized shirt, and I was like, that's very cute. I will very much wear something like that. And I knew that I had the framework bralette pattern, so I was hunting in my sock yarn to see what would work for it without realizing that it is a DK weight pattern. So I had chosen this Cascade Yarns Heritage in Riviera Heather because I really liked it. It's like a nice blue. It's like in between like a sky blue and a teal. So it's a little bit darker, a little bit more green, but not quite as teal as this. You can see slightly darker. It's very hard to read from what I can see here, but I will take a better picture and insert it. But I pulled the yarn, caked it up, then I looked at the pattern and was like, oh, it's DK weight. And I thought I might be able to just hold this double and get through basically the entire skein, but I knew that I really wanted to lengthen the ribbing, and I lengthened the ribbing quite a lot. So I'm glad that I decided not to try to hold this double, because I could weigh this. I don't think that I would have been able to make it. Okay, got the other yarn. So at first I pulled this, knew I wanted to use it, and then I was like, okay, well, you have to hold it double with something, and I didn't have a second one of these, and I didn't have anything that was super, super close. So I had pulled this Knit Picks Stroll in the color Frost, and I was like, oh, well, that might be kind of nice. It'll have like a marled look. But then as I like brought these two downstairs to, start the project, I hadn't yet put away the yarn from my shawl project, and I was like, actually, this is a way better, much closer color combination, and I think it might actually look a lot better than having a much higher contrast blue kind of marl. So I'm super glad that I kind of changed tack there very last minute and went with a color combination of these two. Like I said, this teal color, the slightly darker color, has some alpaca in it. I think it also has a little bit of silk, so it's super, super soft. And then this is more of like a traditional sock yarn, so it's 75-25? Yeah. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so it's very strong. It has that like superwash yarn feel to it where it's kind of like slick to the touch. But I figured for a piece that's probably going to be laundered a little bit more because it's very much tight to the body, that it's not a bad idea to use a superwash yarn. Even though this one is not superwash, I think if I hand wash this carefully, it's going to be fine. But I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be something that after you wash it like twice, that it's going to look really like dingy, or like it's, when things just like look really worn out, even though you haven't really worn them that often. I really wanted to avoid that. So part of the reason why I wanted to try to finish this within the long weekend is because I'm going to be starting a test knit soon, like today, and I wanted to get this on and off of my needles before the yarn came in, which actually I think I did, because I just got the yarn last night and I finished this before then. So maybe I did reach my goal, but I have a bunch of modifications on this, so let me talk through that. Actually, I don't know if you would consider these modifications because they are included in the pattern. All of Jessie Made's patterns have tons of modifications or like different options of how you can knit things. So they have like the base pattern, and then it's, changing things. Like I went for the long cup, they have long cup, short cup, standard, long ribbing, short ribbing, whatever you want to do. So what I did was knit the ribbing. I believe this is like 4.5 inches long without it being stretched. So when it's on, it's definitely shorter. You can see I'll put in a cutaway, that the ribbing section at the bottom does not look like it's 4.5 inches long, because as you stretch it, it gets shorter. So I don't know if you can really tell. So I knew that, she mentioned that in the pattern as well. So I knew that if I wanted it to get right down to my waist, I had to knit it slightly longer than that, so that when it stretches, that it would stretch up a little bit and that it would still reach my waist and not be shorter. So I knit this rib section quite long because I saw like several examples on Ravelry. What I do a lot when I'm knitting a new pattern, or not a new pattern, I have knit this before, but when I'm knitting a pattern and I want to make changes to it, I go through other people's projects on Ravelry. So to see like what it would look like with these different changes to it. I saw that a lot of people who turned it into a tank top or a crop top had just knit like 1 inch ribbing and then just knit the body section a lot longer. But what I wanted to do was knit the ribbed section a lot longer instead of knitting that body section longer, because this has so much negative ease. And I really didn't want it to be like tight across the chest, tight at the bottom ribbing, and then kind of like loosey-goosey in the middle, when if I just did the whole thing ribbing, the whole thing is going to have basically like the same visual amount of negative ease. So the whole thing is very, very tight instead of being like tight, loose, tight, if that makes sense. So the bottom ribbing without being stretched is about 4.5 inches long, and then I knit the like body of the top part before, going in for the cups is about 4 inches long. And one of the things I really like about this pattern is that it tells you, like, you're literally getting out a measuring tape, you're measuring your boobs like all over the place to get the exact right fit, which I really appreciate. I love that it's very much custom to every person who makes it. So you decide like how much coverage you want, you decide, besides like the cups and the ribbings and stuff like that, you decide exactly how this is going to look, which I really, really appreciate. So you basically plug in your own numbers into the pattern to make sure that you're getting the right fit. So for me, before I started the cups, I think it's either 3.5 or 4 inches of the body. The only other change that I made when I got into the body section is I did like the false seam on the front cups, but I did not do them on the back. I just skipped them, just so there was a little bit more differentiation between the front and the back half of this pattern, and I think that it turned out nice. So no false seam on the back, yes, false seam on the front. I will do cutaways because it is difficult to see. So after knitting the body, I knit the back cups, or the back half, with the short cup pattern. So you're decreasing on every single row, back and front, so that the back has like a little bit of a swoop, but it's not like the exact same as the front. And then on the front half, I did the long cups, which I really, really like. Like I said, I have knit this pattern before. It was like literally years ago at this point. It was a completely different experience because I knit it in a cotton yarn, which I would not recommend because you like do not get the same fit whatsoever. And I think the fit is way, way better with the wool. However, I did the long cups this time, which creates like a really pretty swoop neckline when I wear it, and I think it looks really, really nice. I highly recommend. If I were to ever knit this pattern again, I would absolutely do the long cups again. The only other slight change that was not really written about in the pattern, but it's not like, it's not a brain buster, is my size, which was a medium, is meant to have a 4-stitch I-cord for the straps, and I did a 3-stitch instead because I just think that the slightly, I mean, it's so much, it's barely different, but I thought that the slightly skinnier straps would look nicer. The other thing that I did with the straps, which was very much learned from my first one, was the pattern instructs you to knit like each of the cups and then start knitting the straps, and then basically you would join the straps at the very top. And that's what I did last time, and it looked horrendous. To be fair to myself, I did not know how to do a Kitchener stitch when I knit it the first time, and that was such a mess. I might still have a picture of the first time that I tried it, and I just like was freaking out and texting my mom, and like I posted on a knitting group. I like could not wrap my mind around how to do a Kitchener stitch. Luckily, I figured it out. I think it actually looks pretty nice, but I really didn't like that the messiness was like right on top of the shoulder where you could very easily see it. So I decided last time I knit this years ago that if I were to do it again, I would just knit the front strap all the way back and then attach it right at the top of the back strap, which is what I did. So I knit this whole long strap and then just attached it right at the very top. I got the I-cord started. I literally did one row of the I-cord on the back so that I had the same like stitches to work into. And then yeah, I did the Kitchener stitch appropriately. I don't think that it's described in the pattern. I'll have to double check. But the way that you do the Kitchener stitch on this is not with all 6 stitches for both sides at the same time. You literally separate the front and the back. So you're doing like Kitchener stitch on the front, flip it around, Kitchener stitch on the back, 3 stitches. But it looks so much better than trying to force like this 3-stitch I-cord and try to force it into 6 stitches all of a sudden. Okay, so butting in really quickly because I wanted to say, and I forgot to while I was filming what you've been watching, but I noticed on Ravelry a lot of people saying that this pattern has so much negative beads they can't even get it on. And I don't think that's necessarily true, but I think it's an issue with cast on. So I did a twisted German cast on, and I also cast on really loosely because I knew that I would have to get like over my shoulders. So twisted German cast on as loose as you can, and then the ribbing should fit fine. But I'm super happy to have this now. I think it's gonna be a really great layering piece, especially after the weather finally gets slightly cooler, not 100 degrees, so I'm not sweating into wool. I think that it's going to be a really nice layering piece to have. I think the fit is really nice. Obviously, there's not like a ton of chest support, which like you shouldn't expect there to be, but I think for me at least, I don't really need a ton. And I think it's really, really cute. I'm so glad that I have it. I'm really glad that I was able to knit it so quickly, and I think it looks really cute. So I am really thrilled with my framework bralette. But that is it for the finished objects that I have to show you this time. And now, I actually don't really have any works in progress. I have 2 swatches to show you. The only other things that I have shown you in the past are my one Big Love cardigan, which I haven't worked on at all, my half and half triangles wrap, haven't worked on at all, and my next, what do you call that? And my next Silk Cozy Classic Light, also by Jessie Maed, big Jessie Maed fan. But I have worked on that a little bit, but not very much, not worth showing. So the next thing that is worth showing is both acquisitions and my next work in progress. So I have ordered yarn. If you've noticed in my last couple of episodes, if you've watched them, I haven't been buying any yarn lately because I am saving up my little pennies for when we go on vacation. There's so many yarn shops that are in Vancouver. I'm very, very excited about it, but I have been saving all of my like spending money to spend on vacation, as you do. So I haven't been buying yarn like willy-nilly as I would normally, but I did need to buy some for a special project. So let me talk about the yarn first. This is from Fibra Natura. It is their flax lace and it is 100% linen. I got 2 colors. The lighter blue is called Mineral and the slightly darker greeny blue is called Blue Spruce. So obviously these are very tonal. I think they look beautiful together and I'm really excited to knit in 100% linen. I've never knit in 100% linen before. I love linen fabric. I talked about this previously and I did get a couple of recommendations for linen yarn, which was not this. I wish I had listened to recommendations because I caked some of this up already and had a bunch of knots, which, ooh, that really makes me mad, especially for yarn that's not wool where you can't like fix it very easily. A knot, like a cut and a knot in a non-wool yarn, you can't really like fix that as easily. So I had to like cut a chunk out of this slightly darker color because there was literally like 3 knots within a yard. So I was really not thrilled about that. I haven't noticed any more from that, but still, like, why even include it? I'd rather it be short that tiny bit. Anyway, I got 2 of each of these skeins of yarn because I'm going to be test knitting for James & Watts. Their new pattern is the Garter Glide Tee, I believe, and it's meant to be knit in like color quadrants. So it's like 1 color for the sleeves, 1 color here, same sleeve color, same neckline color, and then opposite on the back. So James knit this in like super saturated, very different colors for the different colors on the shirt. But as soon as I saw it, I knew what I would want to do if I was picked to test, which I was. I'm very excited about it. And I knew that I wanted to do tonal. So I have followed this brand, I guess, called Maker and Mineral for years. And they do these really cool dresses, shirts, pants. I think they might do skirts where it's like fully half and half. So like 1 color here, 1 color here, same on the legs. And they're always, or like most of the time, tonal colors. So like a lighter version and a darker version of the same color. And I've always really loved that idea. And so I'm kind of doing that with this shirt. So I have the slightly lighter color Mineral, the slightly darker color Blue Spruce. I think it's gonna look so good. And then for the other contrast for like the sleeves and the neckline, I'm going to hold them together. So I have very little to show you besides swatches. So the gauge called for in this pattern, they even say like it's going to be a little bit difficult to get. I have not washed these yet. I haven't really done anything with them, but I knit it in the needles called for, and then I knit it in a larger needle to see what's going to be easiest to obtain the correct gauge. So when I am done here, I'm going to measure these properly, wash them and pin them as they should be, and then I'm going to see which needle is going to work best for me to get the appropriate gauge for the pattern. As you can see, it doesn't matter like which one, it's going to be quite see-through, which I'm actually really excited about. With this like linen yarn, I think it's going to be a really nice like beachy cover-up. I just got a new swimsuit that's like a really dark, almost army green, like a really dark olivey green. And I think that this is going to look really cute on top of it, and then I won't mind it being so see-through, but it's going to be maybe between this and my last Cozy Classic Light. It might be my last summer t-shirts. We shall see. And I think that the color is going to look so lovely. I already have the pattern for this. I am probably going to start it tonight. Maybe. I really want to put these through the wash as well after, so I'm going to do like proper, gauge swatching, put them in water, pin them out to what they're supposed to be. I also want to try putting them in the wash because, again, this yarn says that it is machine washable. I just want to see like what is it going to do if I put it into the wash. So it might be a couple of days until I actually start this project, but I do think that I can knit it really quickly. The whole thing is in garter stitch, which I love. It is very like loose and airy. It's knit across instead of up and down. So it's going to be vertical garter stitch. And I think it looks really cool. So I'm very excited to get going on this project. I'm holding myself back a little bit because I very much like to jump right in. I don't always gauge swatch and stuff like that. But because I am testing this, I want to do it the right way and measure my yarn, do the whole thing. But I'm very excited to have this pattern once I finish it, which I do think I can probably do quite quickly once I have figured out which needle is going to be the right set of needles. I promise that in the future, I will break out of my blue phase, like you can see in all of my yarn. I don't really have a lot of blue. I have a lot of red and pink because I'm very much like a pink girl. I wear a lot of pink. So the blue phase may be coming to an end soon. We shall see. But for the time being, I'm just living over here in lots of different shades of blue and teal. But that is all of the knitting content that I have to share with you today. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, whatever it is that you're doing, and I will see you next time. Bye.